Hello everybody, this is Kay and welcome to my channel, Junking with Gigi. I am wanting to make some quick and simple, one signature kind of fall themed journal for a fall festival that I'm going to be participating in at the end of September. And I think I want to use as the base for my covers some Amazon packaging. This is just one of a ton of this different kind of heavy envelope packaging from Amazon. Now, this isn't the padded stuff that has the little tufts of foam in between the layers, but it's still pretty thick. And I think that maybe even I can get 2 covers out of one package. I probably have about 10 of these at least though. But I'm just going to work a few minutes on getting these labels off. And I think what I want to do is use some different mixed media techniques as far as some acrylic paints and maybe some of my rubber stamps to kind of cover up some of these black packaging marks, but also add some interest to it as well. And then I picked up at Hobby Lobby just this morning a beautiful pack of napkins of some fall leaves and pine cones and acorns that I think I want to decoupage on top of my cover piece just as soon as I get all the other elements of the mixed media done to it. But first, I want to go ahead and cut this down to size, and I'm wanting to make these covers just the right size for 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper. So I'm going to cut and measure 11.5 by 8 3/4. So I have just a little bit of an overhang of the cover from the pages. So I'm going to get out my craft knife. And actually, I think what I'll do first is just separate these 2 layers. Oh no, oh, it is that kind. I didn't mean to do that, but it's okay. You can always repair that. I was just trying to separate it. So this is what I meant by the little tufts of foam. And I was thinking this particular package didn't have that, but apparently it does. So, okay, I'm going to try and be a little more careful now and not just rip this to pieces. But even so, with a little bit of glue, I can fix that and still use it. But I'm going to do that later. I'm going to set that aside and work with the piece that I didn't rip to pieces. Okay, so what I want to do now is cut this down to, and I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget it, 11.5 by 8 3/4. And that's going to be the size piece that I need for my journal. All right, let's start from this edge. And I will make this, I'll do my 11 and my 8, my 11.5 and my 8 3/4 this way. So I'm going to, where's my ruler? Okay, I'm going to get my ruler. I'm just going to lay it right along this edge here and measure. Where's my pencil now? I can't find anything. I'm going to put a mark at the beginning here and at 11.5 here. Okay, actually I changed my mind. I'm gonna leave it this long and I'm gonna measure from this edge. I'm gonna measure my 8 3/4, which will be the height of my journal. And I'm not gonna cut it down to the 11 3/4 yet because I was thinking I might even be able to like fold over these sides and make pockets on the insides of the front and back covers, or one or the other maybe, or maybe both. I'm not sure. But so I'm going to start from this edge. I'm going to measure 8 3/4. Make a mark with my pencil and do another one down here. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that out. And mark it all the way to the edge, and I'm going to make that cut first. Okay, so I have this cut down to 8 3/4 this way for the height of the journal. And I think what I want to do is just have a pocket on the inside of the front cover. So I'm going to fold this over at that first pencil mark I made. And that will be my little tuck spot pocket on the inside. I'm not going to glue it or anything yet, just to know where I need to cut it. But as far as this back cover, I'm just going to cut this off at this other pencil mark. So, and just not have a pocket there. So I'm going to fold this over to that mark. And then, oops. Then I'm going to get my little ruler here. And slip it under there and just kind of line it up with that edge and that pencil mark. And take my craft knife and just cut this off, and that'll be my back cover. So this is what I have. I have the front cover, will have this pocket, and it should be just the right size for an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper with the cover hanging over slightly. So yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. But before I do anything else, I'm going to do my my work that I want to do on the inside and the outside of the cover before I put it together. So what I'm thinking about doing is on the outside, using this fabric. So let's see, that would be, I want to cover this with this fabric, kind of just a neutral fabric with some kind of leafy patterns on it. And then on the inside, I want to use this napkin and decoupage with it. I have my matte white acrylic gesso here. This is just some that I picked up at Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to paint the whole front side of the cover with this, and maybe even putting like a double layer over these black marks, just to make sure that doesn't show through when I put my fabric on here. Got that all covered with the white gesso. I'm going to give this a little bit of time to dry real good, and then I'll be back to continue. While I'm letting that dry, I decided to go ahead and cut out a few more covers from the packaging, same size. So these are all the 8 3/4. Yep, by 14.5, I believe, is what I measured. Yeah, so that I could accommodate that inside pocket on the front cover of each one of these. So I have 3 more of those cut out that I'm going to work on some while that first one is drying. And I think the first thing I want to do here is some sponge painting. And I pulled out my my acrylic paint in burnt umber. And what I want to do here is grab a piece. I've got a little piece of parchment paper here, and I'm just gonna squeeze some of this burnt umber out onto that. And I'm gonna take a little paint sponge. This is a synthetic sponge. I got these from Hobby Lobby. I get a lot of my supplies at Hobby Lobby. It's the synthetic sponges, and there's 5 little pieces like this in this package, and I don't remember how much it cost. I don't think it was very much though, and I usually don't buy anything from Hobby Lobby unless it's 40 or 50% off. So but I'm just gonna dab into that burnt umber, and I don't want like a real thick, heavy coat, but I'm gonna just sponge this around on this whole side. I got that sponged fairly well with the burnt umber, so I'm going to let that dry before I move on to anything else on this side of this one. I'm going to sponge paint this one as well, but instead of the burnt umber, I'm going to use red ochre on this one. Sponging complete on that one, and now I have one more that I need to figure out something different to do with. I don't want these to all be the same, so I'm gonna think about doing something different for this 4th one. I guess turns out I'm making 4 covers today. For this last cover, I think I'm going to take some of my Edith Holden pages. This is a book I've been gleaning good things from for a while now, and I'm gonna grab some of the text pages from September and October, and I'm gonna kind of tear them up and ink the edges, and I'm going to collage the inside of this one with book page from this book. So I've got that one from October. I kind of just want to stick to text pages, and I figure the fall one, since it's going to be a fall theme journal, you know, the text that would be seen would have to do with fall, so that's why I'm choosing pages from September and October. But I do just kind of want to stick to text pages. I hate sacrificing some of the images on the other side, but sometimes you have to make those difficult decisions when you're working with double-sided items, to which side am I going to use. And since I want to use particularly text pages, I'm having to make some of those difficult choices. Okay, so I've got 4 pages here, and I'm just going to proceed to kind of tear them up into smaller pieces, and I'm gonna do some inking of the edges. Let me move this aside for now and get these pieces all ready. I don't want a whole lot of empty space, so I can, so I'm gonna, you know, tear off some of the margins here and there, because I pretty much just want like text pieces like this. So, and then I'll take my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide and I'm gonna ink the edges of each piece. This is gonna take a little while to get all these ready, so I will probably hit my pause button on my phone camera and do this off camera. I've got a bunch of pieces all torn and inked around the edges here, but what I'm gonna do here is, since part of this is gonna be a pocket on the inside of the front cover, I'm gonna mark 11.5 from this edge, because that's where I'll be folding my pocket over to. So about right there is where my pocket is going to be. So I won't need to cover that part, because once it's folded over, there's my mark. It's you know, you won't see that inside part. So I'm gonna just decoupage this part, and the front is gonna be something else, probably some fabric. So I'm gonna make a mark here, approximately where that pocket is gonna come to. And I'm just gonna go a little bit beyond it, so that when you lift up the pocket, you can still see the book page, but I don't need to go all the way to the crease. Does that make any sense? I hope it does. So I've got these pieces. Let me kind of gather them up and put them off to the side a little bit here. And I've got my glue book here, and I've got a glue stick. I'm trying a new glue stick out. This is one that I had seen Meg at Meg Journals uses this kind, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. So I've got my glue book here. I'm just gonna kind of open it up, and I'm just gonna start grabbing my pieces and sticking them on. I'm gonna kind of go all which ways with them and just kind of make it hodgepodge. So I'm just gonna cover the back real good with some glue. Make sure I get around all the edges. And I kind of want October to show, so I think I'm gonna put this along this top edge a little bit beyond that mark I made, but so the October will still be out. When we make the pocket, you'll still be able to see the October. So let me grab one of my spent gift cards here to kind of mash those down real good. And I'm just going to continue with this process until I have about from here all the way to the edge covered with these book pages. I got that all collaged on there nicely, and I went a little past where the pocket's gonna fold over so that you don't see like a gap there. So that's good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna paint over this whole thing with my matte gel acrylic medium. This will kind of seal everything in and give it and it will dry completely matte. I have used this before. It's kind of like it's like a kind of a cross between an adhesive and a paint, but it dries completely clear, and it'll seal everything in real nicely. So I'm going to give this whole thing a coat, kind of a thin coat. I might end up doing more than one coat. We'll see what it looks like after the first coat dries.
Of this matte gel.
I just wanted to mention about this matte gel that I really like this stuff a lot better than like the Mod Podge. Even the Mod Podge that says it's matte, I feel has a little bit of a sheen to it when it dries. And also, it leaves a little bit of tackiness on your item. And this stuff does not do that. So I really prefer this over the Mod Podge. I've got a nice even coat of that matte gel over this whole thing, and I'm going to set that aside to dry now. Okay, so this is the first one that I did where I covered it with gesso on this side, and I keep changing my mind about what I want to do. I think I'm going to have this be the inside, and I want to decoupage this napkin on it. But before I do that, I think I'm going to take this rubber stamp that I have of a maple leaf and some black ink. Now this is permanent ink, so I want to use that so that when I do the decoupaging it doesn't smear or anything. You can use a permanent ink or even acrylic paint again over the top of this if you wanted to wait for that to dry. That would take a little bit longer to dry than this will. But I'm just going to take this and do random stamping all over this. My hope is that this will show up kind of through the napkin a little bit as I decoupage, and I might not get perfectly clear images because this isn't super smooth here. But that's going to be okay since I'm decoupaging over the top of it. I don't think it'll be that noticeable if some of my leaf imprints aren't perfectly clear. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes putting this maple leaf stamp all over this cover. I'm also going to take my antique bronze metallic acrylic paint and another one of these little sponges and do a little random sponge painting on this, kind of in between the leaves a little bit. And like I said before, not sure this is actually going to show up on, through that napkin. I'll take a little piece of this parchment paper from earlier. But we'll see. I'm just kind of playing here, I know I keep changing my mind what I want to do, but that happens to me a lot when I'm working on projects. I start off with an idea in my head, and then as I go, things change. So that's just the way it is, I guess. So, yep, I'm just going to kind of do some random sponge dabbing with this bronze and see if it actually shows up through that napkin when we do that part. That looks really cool, I think. I'm anxious to do the napkin part now to see if that's going to all show through, but I've got to let this dry good first. While I have my bronze sponge out though, I'm going to go ahead and do some more sponging onto this piece. This was the one that we did the burnt umber on, And I just kind of want to build up a few layers of paint on here. So I'm gonna take the bronze and add that to this. Not sure. Yeah, I think that will show up nicely. And still be able to see that burnt umber through it. That looks so cool. I love it. This one is dry now, that matte gel. I don't know if you can tell, but it truly is matte and everything is nice and sealed now. What I think I want to do with this, again, while I have my bronze paint out here, is water a little bit of it down and do kind of a splatter on this one. So I'm going to grab a piece of newsprint here just to kind of put behind this. And I have a little tray here. I'm going to drop a little bit of this bronze paint into here. Don't need much. And then get my water. And I'm just gonna water it down to a pretty watery consistency. And then just do some splattering with this. Yeah, that should work. So mix that good. And I just have one of these kind of brushes. I'm not sure what you call it, if it's a splatter brush, but it works really good when I do splattering. And so I just take that and I take my bone folder or anything and just tap, tap, tap and splatter that bronzy, watery bronzy paint all over this book page. Should still be able to see all the wording, but this will add a little element of interest. I just love, love, love working with the acrylic paints and the inks and watercolors and just all kinds of mediums. I get excited and have so much fun when I do this kind of thing. I'm going to set that aside to dry now. And I still have quite a bit of the splatter left, so I really don't want to waste that. So what I think I'm going to do, let me think about this. All right, I went and I grabbed a piece of some coffee dyed tracing paper that I had, and I've got a stencil here. This is kind of like a cobwebby, a spider's web type stencil, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to make a page for one of my journals and try to use up the rest of that bronzy paint. So let me do half of this. Let me get, let's see, I need to put a piece of paper in here like this. And I'm going to put this stencil over here like this. And just try to use up what I've got in this little spot. I'm going to use one of these little daubers and see if I can use up this paint real quick. I just hate to waste it because this paint, this particular bronze paint, wasn't cheap. It was like $11 for that little container. And I know it's going to last me a long time, but still, I just don't like to waste. So that looks pretty neat. And I'll use that as one of my pages in my journal. All right, I'm gonna go wash up my items now before this paint dries on them, and I'll be back. This is the one that I sponge painted with the red ochre, and I think I want to do some stenciling on this one as well. So I folded it here. This is where that pocket is going to be on the inside of the cover. And then, I don't know if you can see it, I made a crease where in the middle where the signature is going to be sewn in. And I think what I want to do is I want to take that same kind of spider webby stencil that I used on that other one, and I'm going to leave a little gap at the spine. I'm going to try and eyeball it here, and just do a little bit of stenciling. Now I need to, on this one, I just kind of want it, it's not going to show, it's only going to show here. I changed my mind. I think I'm just going to stencil a little bit up here on this front cover, so it kind of looks like the cobweb or the spider web is coming out of the pocket. On this one, I'm going to use my 24 karat gold Deco Art metallic paint. And I think I have enough in the lid here to do this. So I'm going to do, let's see, let me look at this again. So I'm just going to stencil kind of this one right here, up in this corner, kind of. Get that held down. And then for this back cover, I'm just going to stencil kind of around the outer edge, I think. I don't want a straight line anywhere, so I'm going to place it like this and just kind of go around the outside edge. Love it. Okay, just a quick recap of the 4 covers that we've been working on today, and I basically just got the insides done. I think this has turned into a little bit longer of a video, so I'm going to do a second video where I cover the fronts of them and close up the pockets and kind of finish up the covers. So this is the last one we did with that red ochre sponge painting and the gold stenciling. This was the book page collage one we did with the bronze splatter on it. This was the one we covered gesso, and then I stamped the leaves and did the bronzing. And this one's pretty dark, actually. We did the burnt umber bronze acrylic paint sponge painting on top of the burnt umber. So that's all for today's video. I'm going to try to have the second video where I finish the covers, do the fronts, and finish them up. I'm going to try to get that done and posted in the next few days, so please be on the lookout for that. Excuse me. And I appreciate you watching today. Please subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up if you like what you saw today, and feel free to share my channel with anybody else that you think might enjoy it. And also keep an eye out in the next few weeks for my final video on creating my giveaway for my 1,000 subscribers. I'm getting closer and closer each day. I'm at about 850 subscribers now, and I've been working on a video, or on a journal. I've made several videos working on a journal for a giveaway when I reach that 1,000 subscriber milestone. So keep an eye out for those videos, and thanks again for watching today. God bless.